So I just thought this morning I'd talk about supercapacitors. These are lithium supercapacitors and they have a working voltage of 3.8 to 2.2 volts. So 35 of these is going to be a very nice number in series for a standard OEM CRZ voltage range, and they'll go down from about 77 volts to about 135 volts. That's well within the normal working range of the car. Now they actually don't hold very much power, but they can obviously deliver it incredibly efficiently, and they're very efficient. So what I'm going to use is I'm going to use 70 of these in a test lithium supercapacitor pack. So they'll be in 2P35S. So what will happen is we'll get two capacitors and they'll be connected like that. So that pair will be in parallel, and then they'll connect with another parallel pair, and you'll make up blocks like that. Now, as we know, the CRZ has 7 voltage taps, so 35 divides nicely by 7. So each voltage tap in the CRZ for the battery will see 5 series cells, but there'll be 2 parallel 5 series. So what you'll do is you'll stick them together. Now originally they came with some horrific, massively over-engineered spacing and mounting, which we don't need. Not this, because we're hardly going to stress them at all. I've successfully used 50 of these in a 50S 1P pack in the Insight. That was a few years ago now. So we're going to use these in 2P configuration, so they'll only see half the current. So we shouldn't have any problems. I didn't have any problems with heating before, so we certainly shouldn't have any problems with heating, etc. now. So to make them into a nice compact pack, you've got to assemble these. So what I've done is I've got some self-adhesive sheet here, and I've cut that approximately to size. So basically we stick that on there, and then we stick our second capacitor on there, and then we line these holes up, etc., and bolt through. Now I'm still using the original hardware for that, and you get some little clamps here, so one underneath there, and there's another one that goes on top, and you bolt through, and we can also add a voltage tap wire to here. So what happens is you end up then with this. So this is a block of 10. So I'm going to need, this is the first one I've assembled, so I'm going to need 7 of these, and also working in blocks of 10 keeps the voltage down to less than 40 volts, so it makes it reasonably safe to handle. So we've got 40 volts here, and you can see how I'm building these up. So they're pairs, and then we obviously have 4 tabs joining together. We have positive to negative to positive, etc., etc. So I'm basically building stacks. So this is a very, very solid stack now, and so that's the first stack of 7. So once I've got 7, I'll then fiddle around with them and try and fit them into the available space, and then join them together with bus bars. But it works quite nicely having them in blocks of 10 like that, and there'll be 7 blocks of 10. There'll be 70 cells altogether. So for the BMS, I'm not going to do anything very sophisticated at all. I'm going to use this. These are a simple top balance BMS. I've used these before, again, very successfully, and these are actually the ones I used with these cells before. These start balancing at 3.65 volts, and they can burn off like 50 or 100 milliamps. So basically all you need to do is put a very low current charge on, and for all the cells to balance out. So there'll be one of these channels, if you like. There's lots of channels on here, about 25 channels on this board. There'll be one channel per pair of cells in parallel, because they're effectively a single cell. So that's what I'm doing for the BMS. So as I say, it's very simple, and these have a light on which comes on when you can see they're balancing. So probably once I've got these assembled, I'll wire up the BMS, and I'll just basically stick that on there, and you'll be able to see how each block is doing and what channels are balancing, etc., etc. So that's pretty straightforward. Yeah, so that's what I'm doing at the moment while we can't go out and about because of COVID, is I'm just knocking up a 70 cell supercapacitor pack, which will be 35S 2P, and the capacity of this will be an astonishing, these are 2,200 farads each, these capacitors, so that will be 4,400 farads once they're in parallel, times the voltage that we've got, which is about 120 volts or so nominalish, and so that gives us quite a lot of capacity. It gives us enough to give assist for probably, I don't know, 30 seconds or something like that, and then they'll recharge again. So that'll be quite interesting to see how it works. It did work very well in the Insight, and they were very efficient. It'll be interesting to see how they work in the CRZ. It shouldn't need to do too much to the actual electronics at all. In fact, it can all be virtually standard. Now I've got some active control of state of charge and things like that. We'll be able to see how the car accepts this supercapacitor pack.